All right, everybody, how is it going? It is a beautiful night here in Southern California. Yesterday was overly humid. I didn't really get it. It was kind of crazy. But today we have an amazing guest, former U.S. Navy SEAL, the founder. He's the founder of it. It's called, oh my gosh, it's Naked Warrior Recovery, and it's a CBD oil. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I've just been getting into CBD. We're going to jump into that. I'm way too excited. We have William Branum on the show today. William, how you doing? How's Hawaii? I hope it's not too humid over there.
You know what? It's always humid here, but it's not terrible. I was in Arizona a couple weeks ago, and it's the desert. There's no humidity out there, but apparently there was when I showed up. At least for a day, it was pretty humid. So yeah, it was not cool. I didn't
A
like that
little
at all.
unlucky, right? Like you finally go
Yeah.
somewhere with dry heat, and it's
They're like,
not
oh,
hot
it's a
heat.
dry heat. No big deal. No way, Jose. That was not dry.
So why? Okay, so let's bring this up. Why Hawaii? Like, why'd you go there? I know that there's a lot of military stuff there, and obviously it's beautiful. But what brought you to Hawaii?
It's so had no idea how much military actually was here. There, all four services have major bases here on Oahu, and there's a SEAL team here that does some special stuff where the missions are approved by the President of the United States. And so I had heard that they're doing cool stuff, but no one could really talk to me about what they were doing. So I wanted to let's go look behind the curtain. So I moved to Hawaii and looked behind the curtain. And then
Awesome.
after I spent my 26 years in the Navy, I retired, and I didn't have a place that I was really eager to like go back to on the mainland. I maybe San Diego, but there was like nothing waiting for me back there. I like surfing. Hawaii has
Yeah,
some of the best surf in the world, so why wouldn't I just stay here and figure it out?
exactly. And is there anything in that culture that caught you off guard when you moved there, like first time?
I don't think so. Not really.
Because I've always wanted to live in Hawaii because again, like I'm actually originally from San Diego. We talked about it a little bit. My dad was in the Navy. My granddad, he was a SEAL himself, so it's like I've always been around San Diego. But I always
Right.
hear that Hawaii has like the best fish. It's like an elevated version of like San Diego. That's always what I've heard.
It's there. It's smaller. There's a lot of people here. I'm surprised at how many people are here. And actually, during the whole lockdown piece, it wasn't terrible because there were less people out on the road, and so
Yeah,
you know, it was all good for me. And they made the decision to not you couldn't be on the beach, which I thought was dumb, but whatever. But you could cross the beach to go surfing. Like they didn't shut that down. I
yeah.
feel like there would have been like a real insurrection, like taking over like the actual government of Hawaii if they were like, yo, we're not going to let you surf. They
Yeah,
were
because
smart
that's
enough
like
to
all,
not do that.
yeah, it's like everything over there. I
Yeah.
feel that. That's awesome, man. So talk to me about a little bit about Naked Warrior recovery because like for me, for example, like I'm in my late 20s. Something I've always been bad at when I used to play soccer or when I did jujitsu and everything is I'm horrible at recovery, and I've just
Right.
started getting into CBD. So like, what got you into recovery? How did you get into this business? Like, walk me through that.
So that's an interesting question, and it's there's a little bit to unpack here. So I'll just back up and say Naked Warrior Recovery. The if you can see the guy right there behind me. Where is he at? Right here on the logo. He's a guy. He's wearing some swim trunks. He's got a thing around his neck. He's got some swim fins in his hand, and he's got a mask on his head. And so that is the Naked Warrior. That is the predecessor to today's Navy SEAL. So if you go back in time, if you've ever seen the movie Saving Private Ryan, that assault on the beach that was about 15 or 20 minutes of just like action and chaos and anarchy and oh my god, a lot of stuff was going on. Prior to that assault on Normandy, the Navy went out and they found, they asked for volunteers. First, you need to be able to swim, and two, you need to be an expert in demolitions. And so there were a bunch of CBs that were able to do that, construction guys, and they came in and they figured out a way to first of all they swam into the beaches and they did a reconnaissance of all the obstacles on the beach, the machine gun nests that were on the hillside there. And if you've ever been to Normandy, you will know that it was just an insurmountable obstacle to like cross that beach. And so the Germans were dug in. They were ready for, coalition forces or the Allied forces to come across that beach. And so these naked warriors, they were just wearing, pretty much nothing. They're pretty much naked going into combat. They would swim into the beach and take notes on like where things were, what obstacles were. Then they would swim back out into the water, and they would get about 25 yards apart. They would measure the depth of the water. Then they would swim down, look for an obstacle underwater, come up. If they found an obstacle, they would mark it on their thing they wore around their neck. And then when they were done, they would go back to the ship. And they were the people who actually gathered all the intel for that assault. So that was the predecessor of today's Navy SEAL. After that mission, they decommissioned the unit, but then there was the island campaign in the Pacific where Marines are going ashore and they're hitting these barrier reefs and they're running off the ships thinking they're like in like 3 feet of water, and really they're in, they run off the edge of the reef and they're in 30 feet of water and they drown. And so they recommissioned the teams, and that was the beginnings of the underwater demolition team, which later turned into U.S. Navy SEALs.
Yeah, and those were the original frogmen too. The UDTs.
Original.
Those were like and these the grease 100%. Guns and everything. And is it true that they used to roll around?
They went from like underwater guys to land guys, and that really happened during Vietnam. I mean, they were kind of doing a little bit of that water land thing, reconnaissance in World War II, where they would like come in and like do reconnaissance of beaches, like go up on the beaches and look for where bad guys were and things like that, get back down, go back into the water. And then, so they were from the beginning, they were going ashore, doing reconnaissance on the beaches and then coming back. And then in Vietnam, they went ashore and they were doing, direct action missions, getting bad guys. But they were always coming from the water, which separated them from from the Marines and the Army and everyone else that was over there. And so because they were doing this from the river, that gave them some different credibility, that also the enemy was never looking at the river as where, the adversary will come from. So that's where, they became, more of an amphibious force instead of just a land force. And so that's really a little bit of history about the SEAL teams. And so for Naked Warrior Recovery, for the whole CBD side of it. So for me, I spent 26 years in the military, and quite honestly, transitioning from the military to civilian life is what I call the hardest military mission I've ever been on. I was not prepared. As soon as I walked out the door, as soon as I was retired, I no longer had a team. I no longer had a mission. I no longer had a purpose. And it was that lack of team and purpose. I was in a pretty dark place. And, what I would do is I would drink myself to sleep at night, glasses and glasses of vodka just to turn off the noise in my head, because I got some baggage. We all have baggage, some of it's from whatever, toxic relationships, things that happen at work. Coworker said something, so-and-so said political stuff on TV. We've all got baggage. We're all suffering in some way. We've got things that bother us. And so I had a lot of noise, a lot of baggage. And the way I would manage that is I would just drink until I fell asleep, and that would dull the noise. And then I was in Virginia taking care of some business, and I had lunch with a former teammate of mine. And after lunch, I said, well, I'm going to go see if I can find some CBD oil. I've heard it's pretty good for, maybe helping you with sleep or whatever. And he's like, you want CBD? I've got some at the house. And I didn't even know anything really about it, only that it was helpful. It was a helpful molecule. And so I went to his house. He gave me a bottle. And what I say is, and I took it that night, and I took it for the next, 30 nights or so, however long that bottle lasted. And I didn't notice a whole lot right away. But what I did notice after about 30 days is water boils at 212 degrees. And I was probably living at 210 degrees. And so that 2 degrees, it didn't take much, my fuse was very short. It didn't take a lot to kind of set me off. So over time, what I found is I went from 210 to 205 to 200 to 190 to maybe 185. So I just knew that my fuse was longer. My quality of life was a little better, not a lot, but a little better. And pains that I've had, for, all the years of beating my body up in the military, they were just not as bad. Migraines were a little bit less. They hurt a little bit less. Other parts of my body hurt a little bit less. And I was like, maybe there is something to this CBD oil thing. And, I ran out and I stopped taking it. I noticed I was getting closer back to that boiling point. And so I tried a different brand, and I found that I had similar results. And then I was at a business expo. Actually, the guy that gave me my first bottle of CBD, he invited me to go as sort of his VIP guest, and so I got to go to this $2,500 event weekend and for free. And I met someone at that event that was in the CBD industry, and I tracked her down, and I was like, "Hey, I'm really interested in this like CBD thing." And she was like, "Oh, do you want to do A to B, B to B, B to C?" I'm like, "I want to do CBD. I don't know what other things you're saying to me right now." And so, so we had some more conversation, and she's like, "Well, why don't you start your own CBD company?" I was like, "I don't know how to do that." She was like, "You're a Navy SEAL, Mr. Navy SEAL. You can figure it out." I was like, "Okay, you just pulled my man card, and so therefore I will go and figure it out." And what I found is while I was doing research into the CBD industry and figuring out like where it comes from and what it does and all this other stuff, I found that most of the companies that are out there are corrupt. They have unethical practices. There's a lot, it's getting better. The industry is sort of cleaning itself up, but the FDA has gone out and done a lot of spot checks. And what they found is about 70% of the companies out there either don't have CBD in their product. They have high levels of THC in their product. They have high levels of heavy metals, arsenic, mercury, lead. They have other chemicals, solvents like paint thinner and things like that, which people are using to like strip the molecule CBD out of the oil and things like that. So what I did is I went out after I found all this crime, basically this danger in the industry. I went out and I found the highest quality suppliers that are out there, and I'm still looking for new suppliers. But no one has been able to provide a higher quality than the suppliers that I have. So basically, we provide the highest quality product on the market. Everything that we have is third-party test, independently lab, third-party tested twice. It's tested once when the oil is extracted from the plant, and then after the manufacturing process. So you have like the CBD oil tinctures that everyone has, they put under your tongue. Or we have gummies, we have soft gels where it's like CBD inside of a pill. We have a CBD energy drink. We have topicals. So during that manufacturing process, we also have gummies. And during that manufacturing process, there can be some contamination. We are the only company, my supplier is the only supplier that does, they test the oil when it comes out. And then they also test it again once with the final product to make sure there's no contamination or anything else along the way. So so I can honestly say, without a shadow of doubt, that we carry the highest quality CBD product on the market.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And the thing that I'm super fascinated with is that you mentioned like how a lot of these companies and the FDA is looking into a lot of these companies and doing a lot of testing. And it's funny that you mentioned that because right when I started, I guess, getting into CBD and getting into all of this, I go to this place in Orange County called People's. It's like a pretty popular like store for this stuff. And that they broke that down for me. They were like, yeah, we don't really like, we have these, but these aren't good. Like these have tons of chemicals and these have all this metals and stuff. And they broke down all the natural stuff, which in reality, they didn't have that much, right. And a lot of the natural stuff they had was
because it's expensive and it's a whole big process to do.
Exactly.
Everyone has USDA certified organic now. All of our oil is USDA certified organic. It is a pain in the butt for that, just to have that little green circle on your stuff. So, all of the tinctures are USDA certified organic. I mean, it's such a pain that even my label has to be approved by the FDA or the USDA to, and so if I make even a change, like I put a comma somewhere, I have to go back and get it reapproved. That's just how strenuous that whole process is. So all of our oils are USDA certified organic, but not all of our products, because we don't control, the gelatin that goes into the soft gels. We don't control some of the things that go into the gummies and things like that. But we have the highest quality product on the market.
That's amazing. That is so awesome. And like something I'm curious about is like, I know that CBD and all this stuff is becoming more and more like casual and common, and I'm curious, like when you were first getting into it, was there a part of you that was kind of like, okay, I want to learn about this. Like I'm a little standoffish about it, or were you super comfortable about it like right away? Because like I was
very, very comfortable with it. Once I had done my research and and dove into it. What my biggest fear is that I'm too late to the market. Oh my God, it's like so saturated, and there's a gajillion CBD companies out there. And how do you stand out from everyone else? It's very difficult. And so we stand on, quality and education being, some of our highest, and our mission really to be the things that raise us above the rest.
I love that. I really do. And especially in a time right now where, we're talking about like, a lot of veterans are dealing with, their mental health, and they're trying to figure out their mental health. And I love that you brought that up with your story because it's so important. And obviously it's like veterans got to get into this, right? Like the
Right.
veterans that are struggling with that, like that, this is going to help them, right?
Yeah. I'm 100. I mean, it helped me.
Yeah.
And I am not a salesperson per se, even though that's what I do now is I do sales, but I can't sell something that I don't absolutely believe in 100%. I don't carry any products that I don't absolutely believe in 100%. So I only sell products that I personally use myself. And so, I'm not a sales guy, but I want to provide like the highest quality product because this may, change the quality, improve the quality of your life.
Exactly. And it's like, growing up, I've always heard about like SEALs and stuff like that. And I've always heard about that, like it pays to be a winner mentality. So it's like when you were getting into it, it's like I love that you mentioned how she said you're a Navy SEAL. Did that, and then that mentality kind of came out. You're like, okay, well, I can do this. Like this is definitely not the hardest thing to do. Right. It's like, is
I
that how
might
you
have been
felt?
feeling sorry for myself too, but that's also part of like, having no mission, no purpose, no team, no nothing. Is you get out and you're like, oh my God, what do I do now? And there are so many veterans that have the same thing, but it's not specific to the military. Like anyone who goes through any sort of life change, it could be something like, you got out of a relationship, you changed jobs, it doesn't matter. You had to move for a reason. Like these are life changes. These are things that are impactful in your life. They mean something to you in your life, and not having the tools to really be prepared for that can really mess you up kind of mentally.
Yeah. So, something that I'm really big about is mental health. It's something that I've been obsessed with for years. I've been diving into my own mental health, figuring it out. And it's so refreshing to hear you talk about it because you're hitting on every point, especially ones that I hear like when I hear people talk about mental health, you're saying things that I wish they were saying. It's like you're understanding that everyone has their own battles, everyone's going through their own like I guess situations. Like, how did you at least learn about that or get around that? Because I feel like that in itself is a learning process.
I'm still learning it right now. And really, I think it's just like me trying to figure me out, me trying to figure out how to heal me, how to be, a better version of me. And I found out that CBD it's a modality and it's a good part of it. And it helped improve the quality of my life, but I still had a lot of work to do. It wasn't like this magic pill that made everything better. CBD was a modality that helped me get there, but then there was more work that I had to do, and that's how I ended up coming up with the get naked mindset. And naked stands for never quit, accept failure, kill mediocrity, expose your fears, and do the work. And so I have, I can break each one of those down and kind of explain to you what it means. But really changing your mindset in how you approach things, how you think about things, is another piece of it. It's a big piece of it. And as you change your mindset, you change the way you think, and you change actually the chemistry of your brain and the way that you process thoughts.
Exactly. And I feel like, when people are going through at least those, exploring their mental health, I would say, they're dealing with depression, they're dealing with that stuff. It makes it harder, I guess, to see the tools that they can use to get out of it, right? So I guess what you're saying is that CBD was that tool for you. Like CBD was the first step in many different steps into finding out, okay, like this is what I got to do like for my mental health. What else did you do besides CBD to like, I guess, learn about yourself in that sense?
Right. So CBD was the first step. It helped me kind of get, turn down the noise in my brain that I was using so much alcohol to like just mask, pharmaceuticals to mask. And so CBD helped me just to turn the noise down so I could take control and have control of that conversation. Other things that I did is I tried to separate myself from as many toxic people that were a part of my life. And pull in the people who I wanted to be surrounded with, the people who I looked up to, the people who I respected, the people who I can learn from, and hopefully I provide value to them as well. So in the SEAL teams, you go through SEAL training, you go to BUDS, then you go to the SEAL team, and then you go through this process to be around the people that you want to be around, to do the job you want to do. And so I had to kind of rebuild that team. I had to rebuild that, go through that whole process as a civilian without any sort of roadmap to get there. And so I had to kind of like draw the map as I was walking down the road or climbing the mountain. And I'm still figuring it out. I'm still finding new people to connect with, new mentors, and just trying to build my new SEAL team and my new, and so that I can, be more effective in what I'm doing. I can reach more people, and I can have a greater impact on the world.
I love that. I love that. It's like once you figure it out for yourself, you're able to spread that knowledge, and
Right.
especially it's like, what I'm seeing more and more with CBD companies is that they're kind of creating like these communities, and with
Yep.
your story, it's like, it sounds like you hope to create kind of like a community for veterans to feel comfortable in. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, but it's not just veterans, first responders, school teachers,
Yeah.
people in the service, in the world of serving. And, we offer a 30% discount to anyone who is in any of those fields. All you have to do is, DM me on Instagram or whatever, and just kind of prove to me that you are who you are. I'll give you a discount code that you can use for life.
It's amazing. That's awesome. And something that you mentioned was that you want to surround yourself with people that you can, you work with that make you a better person. And you mentioned that it's like SEAL qualification training, right? Like after you get selected to a SEAL team, and then they kind of
Yeah,
like,
so that now it's a little different now. Yeah, that's more of that now. So when I went through, it was you showed up at the team with no trident on your chest. Then you went through SEAL tactical training, is what it was called back then,
yeah,
for 4 months or so, and then you go back to the SEAL team, and you're on probation for another year or more, and then they put you before a board, and you have to perform, and then you get your trident. You didn't get it out of training like you do now.
yeah, that's
I'm not
awesome.
saying now is easier. It's just different.
It's just different. Yeah. And like, but I mean, that's really awesome, and it kind of proves that, because something I've always heard is it's like the guys that you meet in BUDS, it's like everyone's interesting, right? Like even the guys
Sure.
that ring the bell on the first day, it's like they're interesting guys to have even wanted to do that. So I feel like, at least for you, you probably had like a second instinct when it came to like meeting people and understanding like, okay, I want this guy in my life, or so on and so forth, because of who you met, at least, in the Navy. Right.
I think also there was Buds is 6 months long,
Yeah.
and it took me 13 months to get through that because I got injured a bunch of times in the beginning, and I remember going through Hell Week, and guys are wanting to quit. I've already been there for 6 months. You're
Oof.
slowing me down. You're a toxic person to me right now. I want you to quit and get out of my life so that I can hurry up and win this race, so that maybe I get to sit down for like 5 seconds. So it's both. You find people that are super interesting and super awesome that you want to be surrounded, and you know what, a lot of those people ended up quitting. They're awesome athletes. I was not. I was mediocre, probably at best, but I did get stronger while I was there, even though I was injured a bunch. I learned tons of lessons. I got stronger mentally. I understood. I got stronger, sort of like passionately. I was in a boat crew during Hell Week, and the guys that were in that boat crew, all they wanted to do is win. So I
Yeah.
started off in a boat crew where guys wanted to quit. We had enough guys quit. I saw this other boat crew winning everything. I'm like, I want to be surrounded by those people. I don't even care who they are. I am curious who they are because they're winning everything. No one else noticed. I noticed. And so we're about the same height. And that's how you kind of line up in BUDS is through height. And there was boat crew 3. I was in boat crew 4. I liked the guys that I was surrounded with, but a lot of guys were quitting. And I'm like, dude, if you don't want to be here, beat it. And then enough people quit all through the class by Monday afternoon. We reshuffled boat crews, and I made sure that I was in that boat. I was like, because there's 7 guys in the boat crew. I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm in boat crew 3. And everything that we did, it didn't matter if we were going to eat dinner. It didn't matter if we were doing some sort of silly race out in the surf zone or down the beach or whatever it was. Everything that we did, we wanted to win. And there were times, plenty of times, that I felt sorry for myself, where I was like, this is, my legs hurt. I'm injured. I'm gimping around. My lungs, they're on fire. And I'm like, I could slow down, and I would slow the whole boat crew down. And now I've got 6 guys that want to kick my butt. Or I can keep going and push the boat a little bit faster. And so that's what I did. I chose to be in this boat crew. I chose to suffer like this. So I chose to suffer in the front instead of in the back. And I thought that was, after I went back and thought about it a lot later on in life, I was like, that was the most valuable lesson that I could have ever, given myself, was, surround myself by the guys that want to win. And that's what I want to do now again today. Everyone in the SEAL teams, they want to achieve more. In BUD/S, you either quit or you keep going, but you have another choice also. If you decide to keep going, you can be mediocre and keep going, or you can be awesome and keep going. And so I wanted to be awesome and keep going. And so now that I'm, in a whole new role, I'm building a whole new team around me, kind of virtually, but I can reach out and touch any one of these people when I need their help. I want to be, keep going and be awesome. And I want everyone else, to kind of join my team to keep going and be awesome.
I love that. I love it. And it's like everything you're like, my dad always told me, because my dad was in BUD/S. He broke his femur. And then like, he just, he didn't want to do it again. But he always told me growing up, he's like, oh yeah, it pays to be a winner, Johnny. And then I meet my grandpa, he says the same thing. And then I hear you talking about it right now. And it does, it pays to be a winner. And, you mentioned the height thing. I wanted to ask you, they do that obviously because they don't want to take like the brunt of the problem on other cadets, right? Because I remember I was watching, I was obsessed with this like documentary. It was like BUD/S class like 234. And they had like the Smurf boat or something where it was like a big Smurf like painted on it, and then like they always had the short guys with that one and stuff. And so like what you mentioned your boat crew, but like I guess in like, were you with the short guys? Were you with the tall dudes? Like who were you with?
No, I was taller. I'm 6 foot, so but you don't want to put like guys that are like 6'3" with guys that are 5'3",
because you'll be carrying the whole thing.
Distribution of weight. Yeah. I mean, even if it's like 3 inches height difference, everyone has the boat on their head, but maybe I'm standing up straight and it's still not on my head. I love this, but you're not carrying your weight, and that's literally not carrying your weight.
Exactly.
Which is another way to kind of think about that.
Yeah. One of the things I always thought was so crazy is like, because like the Del Coronado, like I don't know if you did this, but there was like this like bit where they had to pull the boats up those like rock hills.
Yeah,
right? So like the Del Coronado.
Yeah.
God, that looks terrible.
And it's all about, dude, I think that's one of the most dangerous things that you do in BUD/S, but it's certainly in first phase. But it's it's more dangerous than like tying you up and throwing you in the water and having you survive.
The drown proofing.
It's especially when the seas are pretty big, and they like to do it when the ocean is pretty big. So you have to like, it's about, timing, teamwork, working together through very stressful and kind of dangerous scenario. And you practice it in the daytime, and then you go back and you practice it at night. And I remember the night that we did it, once kind of during first phase, and then we did it again in Hell Week, towards the end of first phase. And I remember, you catch the wave, you ride the wave into like basically land your boat on the rocks. And then, the first guy jumps out and like with a rope, and he's like holding the rock while the boat is getting sucked back out. Everyone else is like sort of on hot standby for the boat to come back in. The poor guy that's like on the rocks, like the boat could come and like decapitate him. So he's got to like have his head on a swivel. Everyone else has to like, when the boat comes back in and hits the rocks, you got to get out fast. And then, gather paddles and there's a lot of tasks that you have to do. And I remember like the next wave, I just got like sucked out to sea and then like thrown back on the rocks. And I was like, this is not where I want to be at all. This is terrible. So I may remember something about that.
That's insane. That's how my dad broke his femur. He was on, like, that's what he told me. He's like, I was on that rock.
What class was he in?
I don't know what class he was in. I know what class my granddad was in. My granddad was in BUD/S class 11. So that was like, because he was in Vietnam.
Old school.
Yeah, well, he was also UDT. He did
Yeah.
UDT and then went to the SEALs. So it's like, but yeah, I forgot. My dad told me like 100 times, but like I forget what Bud's class he was in. But he like destroyed his femur because
I
he was the
remember a
first
guy
guy to jump
breaking his
out.
leg in on rock portage during rock portage. I'm just
Yeah,
curious if I knew your dad.
his name was Thomas Bolen. I don't know if that rings a bell,
It was a long
but
time ago.
yeah,
I knew a lot
exactly.
of people.
But what made you join the Navy? Like, I feel like it's like the same thing. It's like even like to have someone like do that's super interesting. What made you join the Navy and then want to get into Buds and then obviously the
Well,
SEALs?
I grew up in Meridian, Mississippi, and there's not a lot there, but I liked where I'm a simple person. I liked where I was, but I also I knew I wanted to be some sort of a commando. And, I grew up with, so John Wayne was in the movie Green Beret in Vietnam. Chuck Norris was part of Delta Force in that movie. And then John Rambo, of course, in the movie Rambo. They were all part of some sort of special forces. And I knew I always wanted to be something like that. I didn't want to be part of like big Army or big Marine Corps. I wanted to be part of like, I like shooting guns and hunting and things like that. Maybe somewhere that has a sniper. So I wanted to go down that route. But I like swimming also. I don't like swimming so much anymore, even though I just did a swim across the Hudson River for a fundraiser.
Oh, that's awesome.
And this was my second year to do that. It reconfirmed that I'm not a fan of swimming, but I can do it. And I reconfirmed that most SEALs are not great swimmers, but we can do it.
Yeah.
And that's a big misconception about SEALs. We can swim. We just don't like it. And we're not that great at it, except for the guys that are. So I always knew I wanted to be some sort of commando. I also wanted to be a ninja when I grew up. And I wanted to be an F-14 pilot because the movie Top Gun was out. And we also won the first Gulf War through air power. So that was all these like things that were like pointing me to go join the military and do one of those jobs or multiple jobs. And so I was in the Boy Scouts also. And someone told me about, well, why don't you become a Navy SEAL? And I was like, well, what's that? Do I have to join the Navy? I want to join the Navy. They're like, yeah, so they're the best. They're the best at everything. They do, they jump out of airplanes, they shoot guns, they have snipers, they blow stuff up, they scuba dive. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do that. I'll go become a Navy SEAL. And then right after that, a Navy recruiter called me and said, hey, have you ever thought about joining the Navy? Had he talked to me 6 months earlier, I'd have said, no way, Jose. Instead, I was like, yeah, I was thinking about becoming a Navy SEAL and I didn't really know how to do that. He's like, why don't you come on down here and talk to me? And so I went down to the recruiting office. They showed me a really cheesy recruiting movie where guys jump out of a helicopter. They, ran across the beach with some guns. They blew something up. And I was like, yes, sign me up. And then I also want to fly airplanes. How do I do that? They're like, easy there, Tiger. One step at a time. So let's get you joined. And then you can apply for those programs after you're in the Navy. And so I joined the Navy actually before I even started my senior year of high school. So between the summer of 11th and 12th grade, I joined in the delayed entry program, joined the Navy, went to boot camp. I took the SEAL screening test and I failed it. And then I continued on. I went to my technical school because in the Navy you have to have a certain job. Which mine was gunner's mate, where I thought we would work on guns, and that was not true. We worked on electronics, pneumatics, and hydraulics. Then when it came time to pick orders for, after you leave that school, that 6-month-long school, the guys that had already taken the SEAL screening tests, they were going to go to Buds. I hadn't taken it yet, and I was like, okay, it's cold and miserable up here in the Chicago area, so why don't I take this other school for 4 more months? And so to get in better shape, and then I'll go to Buds. Well, what I didn't know, and I didn't talk to anyone about this either, is because I took that school, I had 24 months of obligated service that I had to go spend on a ship in Yokosuka, Japan. And so that decision right there that I didn't really know, the repercussions of it almost prevented me from going to Buds. And it took the chief of naval operations. So I went to my ship. I did my time. I took the SEAL screening test. I did all the stuff that I needed to do to go to Buds, all the medical stuff, all the everything. And I called my detailer, the guy who's like sends you to your next job. And I said, hey, I'm going to put a package in to go to Buds. He's like, that's great, but you're too critical to the Navy. I'm not going to release you. You're not going to be a Navy SEAL. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? But I want to be, that's why I joined the Navy. He's like, well, that you're too critical because you took that school for 4 months. And I went and got letters of recommendation. I did whatever I needed to do, talk to everyone I thought I could talk to. And everyone was like, sorry, unless he lets you go, you can't go. And then the chief of naval operations, who is the most senior guy in the Navy, the only people who are more senior to him is the Secretary of Defense and the President of the United States. Most senior guy out there. And he came to my little ship. There's a bunch of ships in Yokosuka, Japan. He came to my little ship in Yokosuka, Japan, and had CNOs calling. He's like, does anyone have any questions? I raised my hand. I was like, yeah, this guy right here. So I was the second guy he called on. And he's like, yeah, what about you? I said, yeah, I joined the Navy to be a SEAL. I think I deserve a chance to go. My detailer won't let me go, but I think I deserve a chance to go. What do you think? He turns to my commanding officer, and he's like, is he a good guy? And he was like, yeah, he's a good guy. He was a sailor of the quarter this quarter, which is kind of like employee of the month, if you will. And he's like, check, you'll be in the first class after your time on the ship. And so 6 weeks later, I'm off to California.
Oh my God. Was that terrifying? Like, was that terrifying, or were you like, nope?
No,
like,
not at all. I was like, what do I have to lose? I'm like, I can ask him, and I can ask somebody else, and I can ask somebody else. It doesn't matter to me. It's all good.
Yeah.
What's he going to say? No.
I love that. That's amazing. And like, so how did you feel at that point? Because he just said that, and like, now the entire point, everything you wanted to do, it's like right in front of you now. It's happening. Like, how did you feel? Were you like pumped up, or was the kind of thing where you're like, I knew this was coming either way?
I think I was probably, I mean, it's been a few years,
Yeah.
but I was pretty excited. I was very happy, but I still didn't really know what to expect because there wasn't like YouTube or, a lot of books or anything like that. The only like real media I had to consume prior to going was there were a couple guys on my ship that had quit, more than I really knew, but I knew there were guys that told me that I would never make it on the ship. I mean, it turns out that they went and quit. Then there were some other guys that recently quit, and they're like, yeah, you can do it. All you got to do is just not quit, get used to running in soft sand in boots and long pants, and get used to the cold, and get used to carrying that boat around in your head. That's really all you got to do. And one of them, his dad was a SEAL. And so I had a VCR tape that he loaned me, and I watched it every single day. And it had like some clips from it was probably 30 minutes of like stuff filming from Hell Week. It's probably not legal to have that information out anymore. And Pool Comp, which was, in my opinion, harder than Hell Week, which was like underwater jujitsu, and you're not allowed to fight back. And you're on a breath hold while you do it. So I thought that was harder than 5.5 days of no sleep was Pool Comp. But that's just me and a whole lot of other people.
Yeah. And that's where like you have like the thing on, and then like the air tank, and then the instructor goes in when you have like the blindfold, and they throw you around and do your thing.
You have a mask on, and then they rip that. That's the first thing that goes. They rip your air out of your mouth. They tie it in knots, and then you have to go through. It's one. It's about being comfortable in the water, and number two, it's about following very specific directions and doing the techniques in order exactly as you've been taught. If you do it out of order, you fail because you're under it's a very high stress situation. And they take you all the way to the end where they put this knot they call the whammy knot in there, and you can't get it out. Well, I have micro lungs. I don't like holding my breath that much, and I'm pretty much out of breath before they're even finished tying their knots. And someone else also told me if there are bubbles, then there is air. And so I would like go through the procedures really quickly. I'm like, yep, take my tanks off, start working on the knot. If I got a bubble, I would get a little bit of air, which would give me more time to work. And then I would work on it more, and more bubbles, air. And I untied, I think, 4 whammy knots, and they're like, all right, fine. Like they want you to go through this whole procedure where you're like, you can't solve it. You ask permission to go to the surface. Then they give you permission, and then you have to like put your tanks in this is where there's more technique, more procedures that you have to follow perfectly. And if you don't follow the procedures perfectly, you fail. So you get all the way to the end, you do that thing, and then you do you put your tanks on the ground, and before you put your weight belt across the tanks, you ask permission to go to the surface again. Then they give you permission, you ask, they answer, put your weight belt across the tanks, you kiss the floor, and you open your mouth and you blow all the bubbles out so that you don't embolize yourself going to the surface. And they come down and they punch you in the gut a couple of times to make sure that you don't have any more air in your lungs, and let you go to the surface. I didn't want to do that. And so I was just like, I'm just going to untie this knot until I can't do it anymore. And then if I can't, then I'll do those other procedures. So I never had to do that last set of procedures. I just kept untying the whammy knots, and I was super grateful for that.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. That is so awesome. And it's like I've always heard stories, obviously, and seen a bunch of videos of it. And it's so funny when you say like the first thing they do is rip off the mask, because whenever I watch that, that's like the first thing I would pay attention to is, like the instructor goes in and then he just violently rips it off and then starts throwing the dude around. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, that is insane, man.
Yep.
But no, I mean, that's awesome. And like, how did it feel? Like, I mean, again, it was a while ago, but like when you finally got that trident on your chest, like, how did that feel? Like, how did that moment feel to be like, okay, I got where I set this goal. I got to where I had to be. Like, was that like an achieving like a crowning moment for you in your life? Or like, was it the kind of thing where
not really, actually. It was kind of surreal. I thought I would have I would feel like I had made it. And I never felt like that. I was like, all of those people are better than me still. I need to be better than them. I need to work harder. I need to do more stuff. And so I have more, like, it was sort of lackluster. I'm like, awesome, I got it. Now what? Like, are you going to take it away? I have to keep earning it like every day. So I was really like, I'm like, once I got it, I didn't want to lose it. I'm like,
yeah, I got to keep going. I got to keep working. I love that. that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, there's a valuable lesson in there. A lot of people, they hit like this point of we'll call it greatness. They achieve their goal, whatever it is, and they stop. And there's like 25,000 more like peaks that you need to go hit over here. But you just hit this first peak and you're like, oh, I'm good. And you just sit back and you celebrate, and you're only as good as that last, mountain peak that you hit. You got to hit that next one, and you got to hit the next one, and you got to hit the next one. If you're ever saying like, remember when, you need to start doing more stuff. You need to like set bigger goals in your life, and you need to try to achieve more. And that is going to give you more purpose and more of a mission to really become a better person overall.
Yeah.
Get rid of that whole complacency, getting rid of entitlement. Like, I hate entitlement. Get out there and work, do something. Exactly. It doesn't matter. I don't care what you do. Just go do something. Be awesome. Be the best, whatever it is. Guy that ditch digger, trash man. Be the best.
You sound so competitive, and I love it. But like for me, for example, like, again, late 20s, all that stuff. I always had to be doing a sport because I'm a very competitive person. Like when you got out of the Navy and you obviously like started getting into CBD and stuff, was the competitive culture of like, selling and getting into like that, that type of culture, was that your new competitiveness, or are you finding a new way to be competitive, or are you relaxed about it now? Like how are you in that aspect?
No, I want to be the number one CBD brand on the market. When you think CBD, I want you to think Naked Warrior Recovery. The end. And it's very hard. And I like it. Like, I don't like that it's taking a long time to get going. But I like the challenge, because I can't do traditional, just throw a bunch of money at it marketing. One, I don't have a lot of money to throw at it. So I have to be more creative. I have to be more unconventional, which is where I came from. The SEAL teams, we're unconventional. We don't just like march up the road and go, find someone's house. We know that it's, booby trapped. There's people out there. We're going to start, we're going to land, 2 mountain ranges behind and climb 2 solid mountain ranges for like 16 hours before and then come in from the back, from the top in order to hit somebody. And, we're going to do it differently than everyone else. And so I have to have the same mentality, growing Naked Warrior Recovery, is I have to be unconventional. I have to attack it from a different way. And so I'm working on that plan. And one of the ways that I'm trying to grow, is just to get in front of more people. Some of that is doing, badass podcasts, because I can't advertise on social media, Instagram, Facebook. They won't let me advertise. They've deleted several accounts that I've started, although they took my money. Don't kid yourself there. They're still going to take your money. But I have to be a little more unconventional in my approaches. So I'm getting on as many podcasts as I can. I've
Yeah.
also created a document. It's called 5 SEAL Secrets, and it really goes over the get naked mindset. It's if you go to the number 5 SEALsecrets.com, you can download that. It really is about get naked, taking your ego off. It's about being your authentic self. It's about changing your mindset. It's about never quit, accept failure, kill mediocrity, expose your fears, and do the work. And that's what the get naked mindset is all about. So I'm looking to start a coaching program as well, really to kind of help people along in that get naked mindset. And also because CBD is one piece of it, changing your mindset is a whole nother piece of it that is oftentimes underrated and overlooked.
Exactly. So I guess in that sense, it's like, because I have no doubt in my mind that you're going to get there, especially with the mentality you have. I feel like that's like the most like key aspect, obviously, to being successful. It pays to be a winner. You get that. But it's like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Then it's like, do you have like so much different aspects that you're going to want to touch up on. So like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Are you going to also, you're going to be like doing the life coaching stuff. Your CBD is going to be blowing up. Like, where do you see yourself?
That's what I see. I see mindset coaching. I see public speaking. I see, a large CBD brand potentially in several chains, grocery stores and things like that, which I'm a little leery of. However, because people have asked me what's the difference between your CBD and the CBD that I can get in a gas station. And so the response is always, what's the difference between the sushi that you buy in like a sushi house and the sushi that you buy in a gas station? Do you really want to roll the bones with gas station sushi? Why would you do that with gas station CBD? And really, that's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's like, are you going to do, like, if you're going to put something, you might be okay with that product, but you might not. So why would you put something, why would you take that chance with gas station sushi?
Exactly. And it's like, I trained at 10th Planet in Orange County, and a lot of those guys are like professional fighters. And I've always heard them say stuff like, if you want to get good results, you want to put the best stuff in your body. So it's like, for this average guy, that gas station CBD might work. But for the people that are like trying to do more with their lives, the people that are like trying to always move forward, they want to do bigger things. It's like they got to put the best stuff in their system. So if they're using CBD, they have to use the best type of CBD, which I think that's just an awesome argument for that. And I'm going to use that argument probably.
That's awesome. Good. And it's not even like, you don't know what's in that gas station CBD. Like I said earlier, like the FDA has done spot checks, and they're like, most CBD companies, the products that they've tested didn't even have CBD in them, or they had high levels of mercury, heavy metals, lead, other toxins. Like, you don't know what's in there. All of our products have a QR code. So I've got an energy drink also. It's a powdered energy drink. And let's see if I can get the QR code. So you can maybe see, come on, camera. Anyway, bring it back here. So anyway, there's a QR code right here. And I know you can't really see it, but
let me see if I can put it on because I might be able to put it on the actual broadcast. Let me see if I can find it online. Naked War. Oh, there it is.
So QR code, you scan that, and we test every single batch of CBD that comes out, which a lot of companies, you go on their website, we do independent lab, third-party testing. They don't really. Like, they may have one lab result on there and they've never tested again. So we test every single batch that comes out, the raw oil and then the final product. And so you scan this QR code, you go to a website. It's called My CBD Test, I think. I haven't looked at it for a while. And, we have you look at the lot number or the batch number that's on the product, and you can see what's actually in that bottle. And, every bottle gets a new batch number. Same QR code works on every single one, but you can go there and you can see everything that's in every one of my products.
That is awesome. And I actually found,
and if other companies aren't doing that, then they're being lazy or they're hiding something.
Exactly. And I actually found this, and I'm gonna put it on here as well. Right there. Yeah, that's a QR code for everyone that is curious about it. And like I said, I have a lot of friends that have gotten into CBD. They've always suggested it to me. So it's like, now that I'm finally like getting into it, it's like, if everyone is telling me like, hey, avoid these brands because it's just it's not natural, they don't use all the right stuff, then I'm
Right.
definitely going to avoid it. So yeah, I'm going to check that out. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's awesome, and it's like outside of it, like what's the correlation? Because you mentioned that a lot of the companies don't have CBD in it, but then they have THC. So what's that like? What's the
So
correlation?
there's the legality of it. CBD is actually a very brand new market. It's brand new, because hemp, which is where CBD comes from, only became legal December 20th of 2018 with the passing of the Farm Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people were extracting oil from a marijuana plant. They look the same, they're bred differently. A hemp plant, what defines hemp as the dried weight of the oil, the dried weight of the plant, it has 0.3% or less THC in it. And so there's three different categories, I guess, of CBD. One is a full spectrum, which has all the minor cannabinoids and terpenes to include that small amount of THC in it. You have a CBD isolate that is just they isolate the molecule CBD, which when you isolate it, it's just a white powder, and then they put that white powder in like an olive oil or an MCT oil or hemp oil or whatever, and then you might, and that's actually the lowest quality CBD in my opinion and many other people's opinion. Either a full spectrum or a broad spectrum. Broad spectrum is 95% of what I sell, and we still maintain the minor cannabinoids and terpenes. There's about 120 in the hemp plant, which they all have lots of different medicinal benefits, and especially like fighters. There's a terpene, which is an essential oil, is a terpene called pinene, and it helps with neuroplasticity. So what it does, it basically protects the brain. It makes it a little more placid, so it's less prone to injury, and it can also help from some TBI. So pinene is one of those mini terpenes that is in a full or a broad spectrum CBD oil. So the difference between a full spectrum, which has everything in it, and a broad spectrum, which is most of what I carry. I also have one full spectrum product because people asked for it. Full spectrum still has 0.3% or less THC. Broad spectrum, we remove the THC molecule completely, and you can see it in our lab results. There's no trace amounts of THC in the product. Even though you can still have a product that's a full spectrum that has that small amount of THC, you're not going to get high, you're not going to get a buzz, you're not going to get anything from it. One, there's not enough THC in there, and two, CBD is really the antithesis. It's the opposite of THC. So THC goes in and it binds to these neuroreceptors in your brain. And if you have a really bad trip, and I'm saying this anecdotally, I've never used THC in any aspect. I'm not opposed to it. I just haven't. I still maintain a top secret clearance. I still do some government contract work, and so I get drug tested. So I can't afford to fail that. That would impact some of my ability to grow this company.
Exactly.
But anecdotally, THC goes in and it binds to those neuroreceptors, and that's what gives you the high. And if you have a really bad high and you start tripping out, you can take CBD and it actually will unbind those THC molecules from those neuroreceptors and bring you back down off of that high, and or at least mellow it out. So even though you have a broad spectrum product, you're probably going to be fine. You're not going to get high or anything, or a full spectrum product. You're not going to get high or anything off of CBD, even if it has a little THC in it.
That's awesome. And it's like, so you explain the logistics to me, and you explained before how educating people about THC is very important, not THC, but CBD is very important.
I know what you meant.
Yeah. But like in my head, it's like, do you ever run into the people that see it all as one, like one thing? Like they just see CBD as weed. Like I've had situations where like I've had a security guard see like CBD like in my backpack, and then they'll be like, "Hey, like this is not cool. This is not good." Like how do you overcome that? Do you think that's something that just comes in time, or do you think
it's education? And I was leery of. I knew I wanted to try CBD, but I'm also a child of Nancy Reagan's war on drugs. Just say no. So marijuana bad, drugs are bad. Okay. My entire life. And so I've been programmed that way. And I'm like, but it might help me. And so I did it anyway, even though I was a little scared. I'm like, well, we'll try it. Well, I'm not feeling funny when I take it. I'm not really feeling anything. I just took it every night, and I feel a little bit better overall. And then I did more education and more, just more education. And I've helped a lot of people just by one-on-one talking to them. They would DM me, and I would just maybe get on the phone and we talk about it. And then they take the leap and they, buy it, and they're like, hey, this has helped me like tremendously, or it helped me a little bit, or I didn't get a whole lot out of it, but I think I got a little bit. I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And something that you mentioned before that I'm curious about, you said that Instagram and Facebook takes they will not let you do your ads on there, which is like crazy to me. Is that because it's CBD, or why do they not let you do ads on there?
It's CBD. They consider it to be an illegal substance. It's not regulated by the FDA currently. I don't know that it will be regulated by the FDA. I mean, there are lobby groups. There are like big CBD companies that have millions of dollars to throw at this, and they're hiring lobbyists left and right to try and get some sort of regulation passed by the FDA. Which I think, I'm not about big government. I like smaller government, but I think this is one of those exceptions. We have to have some government out there to for some regulations to keep us safe.
Yeah. Well, you think it's like a matter of time, right? Because when I look at it, it's funny. I didn't try weed or anything, but literally till I was 23. I didn't drink till I was 21. I was from a super same thing, drugs are bad, okay, household. I get it, and it's but in my head, it's it's a matter of time. There's gonna be a point where I feel like CBD is gonna be on the same shelves as cough medicine or something.
Yeah.
At least to you, it's like I think it's just kind of crazy that Facebook and Instagram are like that. Just recently, I don't know if you heard about this. The Apple Store and the Google Play Store is allowing weed maps to finally be able to buy stuff through their app directly. Yeah, which I think again, two separate things, but it's that has to be a big step too for CBD as well, right? If weed wins, I mean, obviously you guys kind of win too, right?
Right. But yeah.
And I'm
okay. I'm okay with it the way it is right now, just because one, it forces me to be a little more unconventional in my marketing. And it also limits the big guys so that they're not the number one, player all the time. So they have a lot of money. They throw it at advertising all the time. And you could probably, Google CBD. My company's not the one that's going to come up because I'm not throwing a bunch of money at that. But I'm working on it. I'm working on just trying to be in as many in front of as many people as I possibly can. And if you want to try CBD, I hope that you try Naked Warrior Recovery CBD versus a different brand, because I know that we have the highest quality on the market.
Yeah. Well, me being surrounded by a bunch of stressed college students, I'm going to throw that at them like candy. But it's
awesome.
It's funny though, because it's you mentioned before how CBD and oh my gosh, it was super you said that. Oh my gosh, I just lost it. This was such a good question, and I was hungry to answer it at a certain or ask it at a certain point, and I just lost it. Damn. Oh my God. I'm gonna remember it 4 hours later. But no, overall,
that's how I roll.
But overall, I think it is awesome. And I think that, I got it. Bam. You mentioned that CBD, obviously right now, it's not you're not able to advertise it. You're not able to obviously push it out and stuff, and that there's the top dogs, and that you felt like you kind of joined it late. But do you feel like I think that you're early, me, hearing all of this and hearing all of the regulations and hearing how Instagram and Facebook don't allow you to market it. I feel like you're early, because when
I don't feel like I'm late anymore, but every day I'm I need to get this ball moving faster. It's just that it's a little bit of FOMO, but I want to what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Let's figure out what works the best. And let's put 100% into that. And then, then let's find the next thing and let's put 100% into that. And so it's just finding what works best and then pushing that and running with it.
Exactly. And that's so awesome. And I think that can go for anybody, you know, starting a business and stuff. It's like seeing you with this business, going over these obstacles, finding unconventional ways to advertise your business. I think that's a lesson to anybody who's creating a business in general. You know, it's like they got to do this. They got to find outside the box stuff to work, and it's just awesome to
Right.
see you continuously push through that, you know. Do you
Thank
have
you.
any
And it's not if you build it, they will come. There's none of that. They don't know who you are or what you have or anything else. So you have to build it, but then you have to like tell everyone and their mother about it, and then have them tell two people, and them tell two people, and them tell two people, and then that's how it grows. But yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Will, I got one more question for you, and it's: do you have any new products coming out? Do you have anything that like you can tell people about? Anything that you're sitting on that maybe you were waiting for to release? Like, what's going on? What's new?
I'll just go really quickly over what I have, and I do have something new coming out. Um, so what I have right now, I have like regular tinctures. You know, put the oil under your tongue. I have a broad spectrum, and I have a full spectrum. Two full spectrum actually tinctures. One is more powerful, more potent than the other, higher CBD content. I have some soft gels. I have a sleep formula that I like very much, and it has 25 milligrams of CBD. It has 3 milligrams of melatonin. And it also has 3 milligrams of CBN, which is the sedative molecule in the hemp plant. So for me, if I just keep working and keep doing stuff late at night, I can I get a little tired and I can push through that and I can keep going. And now I can't sleep until 1 a.m. But when I take when I take two of these, the sleep formula soft gels, I can't push through that. I get tired now, and I never stop being tired. I never get that second wind. And so I'm like, okay, fine, you win, go to bed. So that has helped my sleep quality and just me getting to bed when I'm supposed to go to bed, and helping me. I don't have to be quite as disciplined because when I take that, I'm going to go to bed because I can't stay awake any longer. I've got several topicals. I've got one that has some, CBD and menthol in it, which has some cooling effect, which I like quite a lot. I like all of my products. So just a standard. And I've got gummies. I've got strawberry lemonade and green apple gummies, which are the biggest sellers because they're at a pretty decent price point and they taste really good. My biggest complaint with the gummies is people are complaining that they just pretty much finish the whole jar the first day because they're that good. But I do have one product that is coming out. I can't tell you when it's coming out just yet. We're finishing up manufacturing right now. And there's only one or two companies that have this technology out there. And basically what it is, I deliver the CBD topically, but it's in a concentrate, and you put it in like pulse points, like where the skin is very thin and you have high vascularity. So like maybe in your wrists or the crook of your elbow or behind your knee or on the tops of your feet. And it'll deliver 4 milligrams of CBD. So it'll be the highest bioavailability. It'll have the highest absorption rate than any other product out there. So the best ways quickest ways to get CBD into your system. Number one is an enema. Stick it up your butt. Number two is a vape. We're not carrying a vape because we were looking at one. We looked at some formulations. The oils that we were using continued to crystallize. So we're not going down that road. And I was a little leery about it, but I explored it just because there's a lot of crap going on out there with vapes. So, the crap that's out there, we're not going to sell that. But the formulas that we were trying to use were crystallizing. So we're not going to do that. The third best way to put CBD into your body is this transdermal pin that we're going to have. And it's going to look kind of like an M60 fuse igniter. So if you know anything about demolitions, and most people don't, but it's the thing that starts the det cord, or it starts the time fuse that blows something up. So it strikes, a little flame even underwater that will light the time fuse that will blow up the det cord. So just as a little trivia or a little history there, a little military thing. So it'll look kind of like it'll be like a fat pen, like it'll look like a magic marker. It'll be OD green with some yellow letters on it. And you can just deliver it, and you can just like microdose CBD whenever you need it. So that's the newest product that we have coming out. I can't tell you when it's going to come out, hopefully in the next month or two, and I will be pushing that hard as soon as it hits the shelves.
That sounds awesome. I'm going to jump headfirst into that. I'm really excited. William, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was awesome. I was so excited about this episode. I thank you so much for talking to me about your journey in the Navy and buds, and obviously your journey with CBD was amazing. For everyone listening, please go follow him on Instagram. Your Instagram, it's at William.
Naked Warrior. I have two. So
Okay.
I generally push people to at Naked Warrior Recovery, but I'd also have William.R.Branum. The same stuff goes on both of them. So you choose. Naked Warrior Recovery. It just seems more fun to follow, I think.
Exactly. Awesome. And then for everyone listening, I'm obviously going to put all of those links in the description, on Instagram, all that stuff. So you guys got to check out Naked Warrior Recovery. It is awesome. I can't wait. I'm going to order some tonight. I'm super, super excited. William, thank you so much again for coming on the show.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
And for everyone listening, you guys have a fantastic night. Thank you so much.